This is the fifth message that mankind has received from the future. It's the shortest, yet most difficult to understand so far, and makes some think that it has become an insane world. The message. It is our duty to offer here for your delight, not to speak of edification, the first newsletter since the fifth iteration of the Big Change. We know it's the fifth, but don't remember the first four. Fortunately, it's not a problem. Well, it isn't, Craig. He assists me, to put it mildly, in the writing of these, the Society's, we can now say, venerable newsletters. I'm trying not to look at his smirk. For those new to us, we're one of the happiness organizations that sprang into being after the Big Change. To avoid certain internal problems, which we'll describe later if there's time, we'll take the unusual step of starting out with letters, called from our letters column for emergencies, just such as this. No, Craig, I'm not going to explain how it avoids internal problems now. Letter. I'm not important, but can get myself to feel like I am if I try hard enough. Is that acceptable there? We go so far as to recommend it. Actually, being important comes with baggage. Letter. I mean, people say poetry is what makes language possible. Is that possible? Yes, it's true that words and names didn't have a heck of a lot of meaning at first before poets got their sweaty little hands on them. Then Katie bar the door. Beep. All right, word has come down. They say we can get on with our newsletter proper now. That's a relief. We don't like to begin with letters, of course. No reputable newsletter does. No, Craig, I'm not going to say what the internal problems were yet. We have to be careful about giving in to him too often. Yes, Craig, just often enough. Letter. So I heard that, in heaven, everyone is rich, even the staff, if you can believe the scientists. Letter. I understand that you have mainly narrative paintings hanging on your hallowed walls. Yes, narrative paintings hanging on these hallowed walls, in these hallowed halls. They serve well our habits of slow looking. All right, let's get one thing straight. In answer to some of the more recent and particularly unfounded rumors about us, we'll never try to force happiness down anyone's throat if it can at all be avoided. Our door to door people have strict orders to back off at the second sign of resistance, issued with even a suggestion of vehemence. Raised eyebrows, lips tucked in, foot shuffling, unusually deep respiration are all signs they're carefully trained to spot. So getting rid of us isn't a problem, but keeping us there can be, due to our occasionally overly sensitive proselytizers, an unavoidable consequence of the rigorous training undergone before being sent out into the streets. Briefcases heavy with relevant material, hands sweaty with anticipation, wearing headsets playing Marching to Pretoria. Letter. There's always, something, isn't there? It never ends. All right, Craig says at least it hasn't so far. Letter. Say, I've heard that we're all like cavemen in modern dress. It's the best explanation for our love of caves. Here is a timely point brought up by a member in well above average standing. Letter. I've finally gotten to the point where I'll appreciate it when somebody says a commonplace thing and follows it up with a great laugh. Am I cracking up or what? No, a lot of people are getting to this point, even clever people, and we in the society think it's great. As we've always maintained, the power of appreciation has gone underutilized simply because too many of us wait for there to be something interesting to appreciate. Letter. I'm very moderate, and I think that's okay. It's superb. The following letter is another example of the increasingly critical eye of today turned towards speech patterns. Letter. My speaking ability has the usual mispronunciations, misusages of words, and patches of downright poor grammar, which I immediately try to correct. I, of course, get away with this because I'm uneducated. I think it's in poor taste, though, for the educated to continue talking this way. They think they can have their cake and eat it too. Too many of us expect miracles of education. They think they can go through years of school and come out the other end acting as stupid as ever, wearing the same unpleasant clothes, keeping their mouths hanging open, laughing hoarsely, mocking at the drop of a hat, and continuing to act like it's the righteous dudes against everybody else. Education don't work that way, folks. Letter. I once knew a gal named Idaho. She took a spit and it landed on my toe. We'll leave that as it is to soak in its glory. Another question that's been simmering below the surface for God knows how long. Craig, the rebarbative atheist, he, gives me the expected look, is stated with stunning clarity on the following letter. Where do you go these days for advice on how to control your emotions, or is that still left pretty much up to the self-appointed experts with their infernal take-it-easies and relaxes? I understand that the various forms of therapy have all but given up the ghost on this front and have gone clear over to the other side and now tell people not to control their emotions. That might be fine for people who aren't serial killers. Do you folks have any feelers out on this topic? We have, and we're on the verge of making it official policy that the secret to controlling your emotions is the following method we've recently discovered in an ancient text. First, learn to control the emotions of others before you begin to work on your own, which will then need only the slightest of adjustments, if any. Letter. Say, how do you reach a foregone conclusion? It's supposed to be easy. Nothing is easy anymore. Letter. I understand that you have a seafront promenade there. Yes, even though we're an inner city, to say the least, organization, we do have a seafront promenade and a mural on that side of the building depicting blue sky, clouds, and several birds in the air, presumably seagulls and pelicans. Letter. What are Gen X crisis counselor types? They came before the big change. Nobody knows for sure what they were. They seem to be connected to offshore accounts and microstates. Nobody knows what they were either. Craig says they were wealth managers, but he doesn't know very much about them. Well, you don't, Craig. Iteration, iteration.